Hey guys, welcome to the weekly Voice of College Football Pac-12 Chat Show Live. I'm Tony Altimore here with Tim, Chris, and Rick, along with some other Pac-12 folks that are going to join us tonight. And we want to welcome you. Thank you guys for taking a few minutes to join us. This is kind of a fun show here in the Voice of College Football where we invite fans and alums to join us, who are fellow fans and alums, to talk about the Pac-12 and the games ahead, as well as look back towards the week and ahead at the rest of the season. So let's welcome the gang. Let's introduce yourselves. We'll start off with Tim.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? My name's Tim Prangley. I am a USC alumnus and a rabid Pac-12 fan.
I am Chris, UCLA alum, and secondary fandom for the Cal Bears.
A good Cal legacy.
Good evening. I'm Rick. I go by LBC Trojan, also an SC alum, season ticket holder, and a fan of Pac-12 football, even though it kills me, for at least the next 2 years.
I like it. All right. Let's dig into, guys. Let's talk about the games that we've got coming up for this week. So some pretty big ones. Starting off, we've got the biggest game of the week, I think, in the Pac-12 is going to be Oregon hosting BYU. Now, this game has certainly gotten the Twitter engines revving of both fan bases and kind of uniting the Pac around its core values. What do you guys think? This is going to be quite a game based on what we saw last week from both teams.
Yeah, BYU does look tough, but I really expect Oklahoma to bounce back from the showing they had in Georgia, the warm-up they had with Eastern Washington, and I think they're ready for a prime time.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be rough. I mean, that BYU team looked. Granted, this game is in Austin and not at BYU, which is a hell of a place to play, and I think we saw that last week when Baylor came into town there. I'd love to see the Ducks win, but I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be pretty close.
This is going to be an interesting game because who is Oregon? I don't think you really can judge from their first two games. The first game at Georgia, that's a heck of a matchup for even the most seasoned coach and his staff and players. You really can't tell on that. And then you come home and you play Eastern Washington. That's really not going to tell you much. So this is going to be a true test. BYU's no slouch. They have an offensive line of 25 and 26-year-olds. They're, getting ready to tap into AARP. They're men, physical, and they're going to bring their own smash mouth type of football. They're not afraid of the Pac-12. I think they were 5-0 last year, and they're going to be on national TV, and they would do like nothing less than to come out and show Oregon, hey, we're real. So an opportunity for BYU. Oregon's got to go ahead and defend Autzen.
Yeah, and Oregon is a team that hasn't lost at Austin since the early 90s. So we'll see what happens. I'll tell you guys, BYU's got a tough team. Probably the smart money would be to bet on them, but I am not putting my money on them. I say Ducks pull it off. We'll see what happens. Now, moving on from the big game, we've got a couple sort of pseudo Rose Bowls here of Big Ten versus Pac-12. Kind of virtual Rose Bowls, starting off with one that has actually, I don't think, ever been a Rose Bowl, but probably should be. The Washington Huskies and the Michigan State Spartans. Number 9, Michigan State, unranked Washington. And boys, Vegas thinks the Dogs can do it. What do we think?
Washington, I believe, is a 3.5 point favorite, depending on where you're looking.
Yeah, that's right.
I think this is just a nod to the great job that Penix is doing back there. Really aired it out the last couple of weeks. It'll be interesting what they can do against that Michigan State defense.
What do you guys think? Are they going to be able to pull it off? Or will Michigan State drown in the tailgating?
I think Washington, this is their first real test. Obviously, playing at Husky Stadium is a great bonus, but you're dealing with Mel Tucker and his defensive-minded Spartans. I think this is an early big test for University of Washington. It's going to be a close, competitive game, but I just see Michigan State winning by a touchdown.
Well, I'll tell you guys, my parents both went to state. My dad played for Duffy. We've got the Rose Bowl ring at home. And while I love Dubs, you're talking about, the family's team versus the X's team. So I don't know if the smart money may be on the Dogs, but I'm going for the Spartans in this one. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be a heck of a game for everybody watching. And it's going to be the primetime game on ABC. So I think that's pretty cool. For two teams that both were kind of in the dumps, I think this is a really exciting game. Kind of a big announcement that both the Dogs and the Spartans are officially back. And so, to our Washington friends, good luck. To our state friends, Tuck's coming.
Yeah,
All right.
I didn't give you a prediction. I think they do squeak it out. Sorry. I do think that Washington does squeak it out, a late game win by 3.
All right. Next game, up to bat. We've got the dumpster fire that is Colorado is going to Minnesota. So a game, it's going to be actually pretty good weather, I'm sure, in Minneapolis, but beautiful stadium there. Colorado just can't seem to not trip over its own feet. Guys, do they have a chance to get this season on track, or are they going to not even maybe win a game?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just not really going to get behind Carl Jarrell and Colorado until they show me they have a pulse. I think this might actually turn ugly.
The boat is going to row so hard that the wake is going to drown everyone from Colorado, and let's just move on to the next game.
The best thing about this is I love the graphics, and Carl Dorrell on fire is all you need to know. The spread is 27.
It's in a dumpster fire.
Yeah, the spread is 27, and Minnesota will hit that in the first half.
I agree. The boat will row, but it won't splash enough wake to put out the dumpster fire. Let's move on to the next one. Sort of a pseudo Big Ten game. We've got the Cal Golden Bears, who, I don't think anybody would have given them a chance already earlier in the season, but all of a sudden Notre Dame is rocking on its heels. The Bears are going to Notre Dame Stadium. Guys, are we going back to 1959, or are these the Cal Bears that we're usually know and don't necessarily love so much? What's happening?
Yeah. In this game, I really want to believe that Cal defense can stand up for a reeling Notre Dame offense and come out with a victory in South Bend, but I really just don't see it. I think that actually it is a kind of a low-scoring affair, and I think Notre Dame's going to bounce back and get the win at home.
Notre Dame will be without its starting quarterback, right? But yeah. I don't think it's going to matter. If you watched any of the UNLV versus Cal game last week, which I did, Cal won, right? But it was pretty close. And the thing that stuck out, I think, is that Cal's offensive line couldn't even get a push against UNLV. And against that Notre Dame defensive line, that is pretty dang good. I think you're going to have Plummer running for his life a little bit more often than the Cal fan would like. So even though Notre Dame, might have its own struggles and is, starting a new quarterback who's not the guy that they wanted to have, I would love to be wrong, but I think that Cal has a real problem moving the ball on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty safe bet. I gotta agree with you guys. It'd be neat for the conference if Cal were able to find a win. On behalf of our good friend Will, who's going to be joining us a little bit later, though, I don't think it's probably good for his mental health. But I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to fall again. I think Notre Dame gets the first win of the Marcus Freeman era and knocks out the Cal Bears. All right, now we've got a couple Pac-12 versus.
I didn't get my.
Go for it. What
so
do you think?
I think this is going to be a remake. This is going to be a remake of the earlier game this year, Iowa and South Dakota State, which was a 7-3 game. The defenses are the strengths of these two teams. They got a backup quarterback in Drew Pine that looks like he's 14 years old. That guy was scared to death at the end of the Marshall game. Cal's quarterback is Jack Plummer, Jake the Snake's kid, who used to play at Purdue, so he's played against Notre Dame before, and they've got a freshman all-purpose player, Jaden Ott, who can run the ball, catch the ball out of the slot. They line him up as a receiver. Very dynamic. I think this game is going to be one on the defense, creating turnovers, short fields. I'm going to go with Cal. Cal by a point.
I like it. LBC for the Golden Bears. All right. Next up, we've got a couple of Mountain West games that are going to be kind of fun this year. You know, the Mountain West is sort of our little neighbor partner conference with some really good teams. Starting off, what I think is really the game of the week here, the USC Trojans are number 7, hosting Fresno State in a rematch of what have always been really, really great USC Fresno games. And we sort of have the nightmare of the 93 Freedom Bowl. We have the legendary 2005 game that's one of the biggest games in Fresno history. And Jake Haener is going to bring his team back down, who's afraid of nothing. What do we think, guys? Is Fresno got a chance against the mighty men of Troy?
I think USC again. Last 2 games, they got out, scored touchdowns on their first 5 possessions. I think I see a little bit of the same. I see they're going to come out, pistol hot. I'm again still not sold on a developing defense. It's trying to come together and mesh. So I do see a little bit of a scoring fest in this one. But I do think that USC wins comfortably end by at least a couple touchdowns.
I think that SC pulls it off, but I can speak to bad things happening when Jake Haener comes to LA. And I know you all know your old friend Jeff Tedford is probably pretty excited about this game as well.
Oh yes.
I think that Fresno State is by far the best team that you all have played so far this year. I think that SC does pull it off, but I think that there's going to be moments in this game where it's a little bit closer and a little bit more uncomfortable than you think it should be.
Yeah, great analysis. I look at this game, and Jeff Tedford has 2 games on tape, the Rice and the Stanford game. He is going to go ahead and dial up some plays for Haener, and SC's going to have to prove that they can stop some scripted plays. So he's going to be able to dissect and develop some special plays to take advantage of USC's defensive weaknesses, a lot of issues with gap integrity. So he's going to test that. I think SC will be fine. We're going to be able to outscore them. I'm not really impressed with Fresno's defense. USC cannot live on the rate of takeaways at 4 per game. And if SC does turn the ball over, then you're going to give Haener a few more possessions, and that's something that can make the game closer than people think. I'm looking at 45 SC, 28 Fresno State.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Guys, I think there's a couple things that we have to remember in this game. First of all, Jake Haener is the man, and he can do anything. And he's a little bit ticked off, reminding everybody that he wanted to go to USC growing up, but wasn't tall enough and didn't have enough stars by his name, as he says. Now, when Jake Haener started off his career, he was at UW before he went to Fresno. And he completed 69% of his passes at UW, which is pretty impressive. Another player, Fresno has a 4-star middle linebacker, Scott. And, this guy, you sort of say, okay, Fresno middle linebacker. Yeah, well, he actually did his first 4 years at a little school in LA called USC. So he's back out for revenge. One of the defensive players sort of shuffled away as Coach Grinch came in. So there are a lot of folks. Everybody in there has got a chip on their shoulder. And Fresno's got a good team. One of the things, actually, the folks from Reign of Troy, I thought, put it best. Lisa said that the thing about Fresno is they don't have an elite defense, but they have a competent defense. And they're not going to make some of the mistakes that we saw if the other teams make. And we know that if USC turns the ball over, we could be in trouble. But with that said, I think USC rolls, beats the spread, USC by 20. That's where I'm going. All right. Next up to bat. How about them Cougs? Wazoo went into Wisconsin and said, jump up, and sit down. So far, new Wazoo Chancellor Elizabeth Chilton is undefeated. What do we think, guys? Is Wazoo for real? They're going to get a chance to kind of maybe have a little fun and let some healing happen with Colorado State. What do we think?
I think they are for real. I think Washington State is showing that they have one of the better defenses in the Pac-12. They took that defense on the road last week and again showed out. I see them winning this game big.
Yeah, Washington State wins, but I gotta think. I gotta say it's a shame between them and the Beavs. I think neither of them. Am I right to say that they didn't even receive votes in the AP poll, or just that they're not ranked? Either way, I mean, they should both be top 25 teams for what they've done so far this season. And Washington wins by at least a couple scores. I mean, sorry, Washington State.
Washington State and Oregon State did receive votes that they're not in the top 25. Colorado State opened the season getting obliterated by Michigan 51-7, and then returned home to Fort Collins, giving it up to Middle Tennessee State 34-19. They're 0-2. And the Cougs are 2-0 with their win at Camp Randall. Congrats to the Cougs. But that famous motto, they're going to Coug it up. And they're high on themselves, peaking at the top 25. I'm predicting a Coug it up game. Just when you want to prop up the Pac-12, history will repeat itself. Colorado State by a field goal.
Wow.
That's true. There, it is the Pac-12. We do know how to do that. I don't think it's going to be the steamrolling that we think that it might be. Some of the folks and some of the media folks are saying, but I think Washington State pulls it off. I'm hoping they don't Coug it up, but we'll see what happens there. And that game's going to be on the Pac-12 network, kind of the early game. Next up to bat, Utah. Now, Utah lost at Florida. They came back and just swamped Southern Utah. And now they got a big game. San Diego State coming in here to into Salt Lake City. Now, last year, San Diego State beat them in kind of a big upset. So they're going to be hungry. What do you guys think? Utes or the Aztecs? Kind of a Native American battle going on here.
Utah had that heartbreaker in the start out the season, and then they got the double whammy of last week where Florida's shown that they, may not be the great team we gave them credit for in that win. However, I still see that Utah is the class of the Pac-12 in the fact that they have a great coaching staff and they've got a very well-rounded team. I see Utah play this one out also by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Utah keeps it rolling. They're gonna put week one behind them. They're not gonna overlook anyone like San Diego State. Not that I think anyone would with the coach that they have. I don't think that they're that kind of team or that kind of program. But the fact that they lost to them last year, they're gonna be looking out to get revenge on that game. And yeah, Utah wins by a couple scores.
Yeah, the spread on this is 21, I believe. And Utah was surprised by San Diego State last year. Not going to be any surprises this year. Challenging game down in Florida, which kind of recalibrated them, let them know kind of where they're at, the Utes. You can't really take anything from Southern Utah. There's JCs in California that beat Southern Utah. But Utah is an amazing team at home. I see them rolling San Diego State. I'm looking at a 28-point win.
I think that's probably a pretty solid statement. I think Utah is on the warpath after what happened with Florida, and they're going to probably try to take it out in San Diego State. San Diego State's got a good team, but I don't think they're on the Utes level. I think that's a pretty solid bet Utah covers. All right, moving on. We got a MAC showdown here. A little bit of Pac-12 MACtion going on. Arizona State, after not being able to hang with Oklahoma State, brings Eastern Michigan to the Valley of the Sun. What do we guys think? Do the Eagles have a shot, or is Arizona State maybe for real?
I think that I don't know what to make of Emory Jones and that offense at Arizona State. I still think they have a decent defense, but in this game, obviously against Eastern Michigan, they should just win this one going away.
Right. I'm not sure what to make of Arizona State. Yeah, that much either. Although, I mean, they wanted to make me watch their game last week early, and then they kind of let it get away from them. But this week they take care of business.
This game, the spread is Arizona State minus 20.5. Arizona State's not that good to be a 3-touchdown favorite against anybody, let alone Eastern Michigan. They're gonna do what the Sun Devils do. They're a dumpster fire. They'll win this game by 6.
I like it. Hey, we want to give a big thanks to Shoelace Sooner out there. He's one of our favorite viewers and fans. I hope you'll call in sometime. You guys have a big game this week, by the way. Good luck against the Cornhuskers. I think knowing my Oklahoma fans going up against a Nebraska team that's reeling, you guys might have some fun with that. Thanks again, Shoelace Sooner. We really appreciate it. Now, as for what's happening in the Valley of the Sun, my uncle went to Eastern Michigan. I love the Eagles, but I just don't think they're going to be able to hang with Arizona State. LBC, I kind of tend to agree with you that they won't maybe roll them like they should, but I think they might be able to at least get close to the spread. So we'll see what happens there. Now we got a couple of FCS showdowns here. And then once we're done with that, we'd love for you guys to call in because we want to take the rest of the time and hear what you guys have to say. So let's dive in here, and we'll put the link in the chat in just a sec. But let's dive in here, guys, to the FCS games. First of all, one of the most underrated games, I think, going on in all of football this weekend, Arizona versus number 1 in FCS, North Dakota State. Now, I can't think of anybody I'd rather play less than the number 1 team in FCS. And the Bison they're a force to be reckoned with. What do you guys think? What's going to happen down there in the desert?
Yeah, I kind of sold some of my Arizona stock last week. I know they went up against a very good Mississippi State team, but the way they really faded down the stretch kind of gave me lots of pause. Maybe we might be going a little bit crazy. Jaden Delora kind of showed us some of what Jaden Delora does sometimes. You know, he could be a world killer, and he can also kill his team. But I think overall, I do believe in Jed Fish and this offense. So I do think they come out of this game with the win. Again, it might be a little not as comfortable as we would want it to be. Right now, shockingly, the mighty Pac-12 is undefeated against the FCS this year. I still see that continuing, and I think they find a way to win this game. It may be closer than most people want.
Yeah, I do think it's a pretty evenly matched game, and I think a lot of it depends on, which Jaden Delora we see. Like exactly what Tim said. That's I think that Arizona ultimately pulls it out, but Jaden Delora cannot play like he did last week, or they will lose.
Tim, did you say the Pac-12 is undefeated this year against the FCS schools?
Yeah, I saw that number. I almost passed out. Yeah,
you might have cursed us by saying it out loud.
Did you just jinx Arizona? This game,
I don't think I did. Believe me, if my words can give them the L on this one, then maybe they truly aren't the team that I thought they were at the beginning of the year.
This game's off the board betting wise, but Arizona did lose to Northern Arizona last year. They started off San Diego State's new stadium with a convincing 38-20 victory. And then last week, they faced a real team in Mississippi State. Kudos to Mike Leach's team. They took the L. So this game is really going to show us who Arizona is this year. Do they step up and take care of business at home against North Dakota State? Or does Jaden Delora kind of throw them out of the ball game and it's closer than people think, and they're in it for their lives in the fourth quarter? I tend to think they've got enough talent. They've got enough games under the belt under Jed Fish, and they win this game, but it's going to be a close game. I see Arizona winning by 10 points.
LBC, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. This is going to be a heck of a game. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be late night, 11 p.m. Eastern on FS1. And I think it says something that actually this FCS game is on FS1. North Dakota State's going to be hungry for it, but I think Arizona is going to come out with the win, but in a pretty good game. Now, we've got kind of an interesting one here. Oregon State versus Montana State. We saw Oregon State, pull out, big balls Jonathan Smith last time. We saw Benny go for the win as Jack Leto ran it in. This one's kind of another interesting one because a lot of you guys know Oregon State is rebuilding half their stadium this year. So they're going up to Portland. And before Oregon State had a stadium, they used to have to play USC and UCLA and Washington in Portland in a baseball stadium, which has since been reconverted into one of the nicest soccer stadiums in all of MLS. So this game is going to be in the big, beautiful soccer stadium in Portland off campus. What do you guys think? Do the Beavs keep it rolling against Montana State?
Yeah, I've been a huge believer in Jonathan Smith and what he's been doing. His 5 years up there, 4 years plus at Oregon State. I think they have just the athletes in the trenches to make this thing a really one-sided affair. I think they have one of the best offenses on the West Coast. I just can't see any reason to give Cinderella hope in this game. So Oregon wins big. Oregon State wins big, sorry.
Yeah, Oregon State keeps it rolling, and they look forward to who comes to town next week when the Trojans come in, and then they try to really make a statement. But this week they take care of business. Jonathan Smith, I mean, I'm going to say more of the same of what everyone said, but that guy has it going. Their first touchdown drive, I mean, super aggressive against Fresno State. Not only at the end of the game, but they had 2 4th down conversions on their first touchdown drive, and then to have Tedford, they put the field goal team out. For anyone that didn't see it, they put the field goal team out to tie it, to put it into overtime. Tedford freezes the clock. I got to have Connor come on and talk about how excited he was. Tedford freezes the kicker, then they come back out with the offense and win the game on the last play of the game. It's just awesome stuff, an awesome game for anyone that had the pleasure to stay up and watch it. But the Beavs keep it rolling.
I love Jack Coletto. He reminds me of a black shirt. Back when Nebraska used to have a team, would punch people in the mouth, were physical and tough. That should tell you. Trev Alberts, if you're listening, you should have already made a phone call to Jonathan Smith, because he's an excellent coach, and he would bring back Nebraska to some type of semblance of what they used to be. But that's another story. This game, Oregon State's going to roll. They're going to put up 45, no problems, and they'll be ready for USC.
I think you're right. I think this is going to be a fun one. It's also, like I said, kind of interesting because it's in that soccer stadium. It may be something we see the Pac-12 doing more of with SoFi Stadium or some of the soccer stadiums in LA coming up going forward. Next up to bat, UCLA. There is not a cupcake, powder puff team, nunnery, convent, orphanage that UCLA will not put on the schedule this year, guys.
Whoa, let's slow down.
They got South Alabama. Not a bad team. They're pretty good. Actually, they're in the wrong section of this. Sorry. I should have had a divider page for this one. My bad. But what do we think? UCLA or the Cupcakes? Who's doing it, Tim?
Yeah, well, UCLA is only a 15.5 point favorite in this game.
South Alabama's good.
I think in front of a stellar 8,000 to 9,000 fan.
All right.
Home field advantage.
So they just play at Drake Stadium, the track field on campus?
I'm not sure where they're going to play. They could probably play in a local park and probably fill that thing up. But I think that they're probably going to have a typical Kelly win here, where we're gonna see a heavy load of running and a lot of DTR running, and I see them covering. I see the Bruins winning by about 20.
All right. I think we win.
I think
we win, but I'm going to give you some reasons that I'm a little concerned. And I don't think, first of all, this team, if we're forgetting, is in maybe, the second best conference in college football. They come from the Fun Belt. And you only have to ask Virginia Tech, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, and Nebraska what it's like to play one of those teams. So no, the truth is we should win the game, but they are going to be the best team that we've played, and we can't just show up. We can't sleepwalk to victory. We do actually have to play against them. It'll be the first time that we've been undefeated and out of conference since 2015 if we do win. So that's also going against us. But this is a South Alabama team that beat Nichols handedly, and then they beat a Central Michigan team that put up 44 on Oklahoma State in week 1. So I don't think it's definitely not the walk in the park that Bowling Green or a game against Alabama State were last week, or what Colorado. I think that this is a better team than the Colorado team will play in week 4. So yeah, I think we win.
So is the Pee Wee team that D4 coaches on the weekends.
Yeah, that's probably true. So yeah, no, I think we win, but I am a little bit concerned, and we do actually have to show up.
Yeah, this is a new one for me, where UCLA fans trying to talk themselves into a win over the Sun Belt. So I'm interested to see how this one turns out.
Tony, you brought up a good point earlier about the soccer stadiums, and UCLA. It might be wiser for them to play their games at Dignity Health Sports Park. That's where the LA Galaxy play. Stadium capacity 27,000. That's where the Chargers played until they moved into SoFi. It's actually closer to Westwood, and the capacity would work. They would look like they had sold out games all the time. Now they're going to tell you that, hey, UCLA's on the quarter system. There's not going to be any students starting school for about another week and a half, 2 weeks. So there's not going to be any type of home field advantage. And South Alabama's coming in with one mission. We're going to add the 5th Pac-12 team to the Fun Belt's belt. They're going to be gunning for UCLA. Now, do I think they have enough? No. But are they going to be intimidated? Not at all. The spread I believe is 15.5. I see UCLA winning by 10.
It's crazy that all it takes is beating Rice and a bad Stanford team for USC fans to be ready to pop off this hard. I didn't know we were getting here this quickly, but we'll see. All right.
I'll tell you guys, South Alabama is a good team. I don't want to play the Fun Belt right now, but I do think UCLA, they got a pretty solid team. I think that they pull off a win in the end. And then Stanford, as you guys know, is not playing this weekend. So they've got a weekend off after recover from USC. Now, like I said, we want to hear from you guys. And first up, we've got Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports. Jeffrey, welcome to Pac-12 Live.
I'm glad to be here. I got a few interesting things I want to talk about with the Pac-12. Number one, I think it's funny. I know that football games are scheduled way in advance, like 10 years in advance, but I think it's hilarious that Arizona is playing North Dakota State, because Arizona is like one of the worst teams, which back 10 years ago, they weren't as bad. And North Dakota State's one of the best FCS teams. Like, North Dakota State should play a better team, like from the SEC. And then the teams at the SEC teams, like you get Alabama versus the Citadel. That's who Arizona should be playing from the FCS, not North Dakota State. I think it's hilarious that this game, it actually is a really good game, and it's way too late.
I know it's gonna be a really fun one. Yeah, I think it's a major game.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that the SEC schedules the cupcake FCS schools and they won't schedule a tough FCS school?
Uh-oh, did Jeffrey freeze?
I think I shocked him.
Yeah, I think he's frozen. All right, hopefully Jeffrey will be back with us in just a sec. He froze up there. Little internet connection issue. While we wait for Jeffrey to come back, we've got Tide Guy coming on. Tide Guy, Jeff, welcome. What do you think? We got the Pac-12 week ahead.
I actually think this is going to be a great week for the Pac-12. I really do. I have most of the Pac-12 teams winning. I do think North Dakota State is going to pull the upset on Arizona. I know Arizona is a lot better than they have been the last few years. They looked really good against San Diego State. They didn't look as good last week against Mississippi State. So I do think North Dakota State's going to pull that upset. But I think in all the other games, except for the Cal game, I think the Pac will win, and I think Cal will still make it interesting at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's gonna be a heck of a game. I can't wait to get Will's take on it. I think I can predict it, but we'll see what he says in just a sec. Mike Ford points out, I like this. This sounds like U of M fan. UW manages to beat our little brother. He'll give the Pac a second look. Hey, Jeffrey, welcome back.
I'm sorry. I'm in my studio, as I call it. It's in the back, and sometimes the internet dies. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. We're glad to have you.
In now. My favorite game. I cannot wait for the Washington game. The Washington game with Michigan State. That's the game right there. I can't wait for that one. Penix. I hope he can make it through this game. Penix. I mean, I always call him Penix, but Penix. Man, I really wish he had stayed healthy at Indiana because he was really, really good. But I think Washington's going to win. I said in the chat, I got Washington winning, and a lot of people don't think so. But I think that's going to be a big win for the Pac-12 this week, and I really think Washington's going to win. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, well, again, Tony has those ties to Michigan State. I mean, I can't see his thing going either way. Yeah, you're looking. I think Vegas has Washington. Maybe we're looking at a 3 to 3.5 point favorite. You know, that's really your home field advantage. So what they're telling us is this could be an old fashioned, back alley fist fight. And I do like the way that Washington's offense is moving the ball. Penix is up there in yardage and passing, and he's really been taking care of the ball. I don't have his stats in front of me, but he's throwing touchdowns and he's not throwing a lot of interceptions. If, again, a game this close, if he can continue that passing, again, I know he's had some trouble in the past, but if he can continue that passing against what I think, obviously with Mel Tucker, we know Mel Tucker's defense, right? So if he can continue to light up the scoreboard like he is, I really think that and take care of the ball and not turn it over. I mean, I told you I like Washington in a close game. I think that line's really good at 3. I don't think either one of these teams pulls away.
Let's not get hypnotized. You need a defense and a running game when you travel. Michigan State has that. Yes, Washington, they've had a couple victories, but it's against Portland State and Kent State. They're going to face a real defense. They're going to put pressure on Penix. They know him from the Big Ten. He's capable of making mistakes. And in a 60-minute game, Michigan State's defense and ball control and is going to control this game, and they're going to walk away with a close victory. Washington's going to compete, but they're still a few games away from really beating a team like Michigan State, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100% there, but Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix both have experience against Michigan State too, though. I mean, that's why I really think they're going to win. I know they haven't played that. Kalen DeBoer didn't coach against Mel Tucker. It was Martin Antonio, but I think they're going to win. It's tough for a team to go out west like that, and Michigan State hasn't played anybody good yet either. And it's going to be interesting. It's a 50-50 game for sure. I don't know, but I still think Washington's going to win.
Their fan base has not, as far as numbers wise, hasn't been what it's been. But there are a few places in the Pac-12 that are as hectic as Husky Stadium. If they pack that stadium, it is a true home field advantage. And again, I'm curious to see if what you're saying is going to hold up, Rick. But I have a lot of faith in this team. I mean, they have the athletes on defense as well. It's not a one-sided affair where they don't have the horses on defense at Washington. So I don't think either team's going to pull away. This one could be a coin toss, but again, at home with a Husky Stadium crowd, I'm giving the edge to the Huskies.
It's going to be a heck of a game either way.
It's going to be a tight one, but my dad's idea of a lullaby was the Michigan State fight song. So, I don't know if I can predict him to fall to the Huskies, but I think it's going to be a heck of a game.
I don't think I went on record for my prediction on the Oregon game. I think that's the first one we previewed.
Oh, did we miss you? I'm sorry.
I apologize. I believe Oregon's going to win by a field goal. So there you go.
Let's go Ducks.
For all the Ducks fans out there.
For all the Ducks fans and
Trojans giving you some love. Don't
one of my there was a great quote somebody on Twitter the other day said you have to be quite an institution to unite Ducks, Beavers, Trojans, Huskies, and Utes all for Oregon.
There you go.
Jeffrey, what else are you looking forward to in the Pac this week?
I got another interesting question. Do you think that the worst Pac-12 team is Colorado this year? Or you think Arizona's still the worst? I know it's hard to tell because it's early.
Colorado is a
worst.
flaming dumpster fire.
Yeah, I had a feeling that Air Force game. I saw the score; they got blown out. That was ugly. And on the opposite side of that, do you think the best Pac-12 team is USC or Utah still?
That's
Let the
all-
USC guys talk, and then I'll tell them why they're wrong.
Okay.
That's a hard one.
Yeah,
Utah's the
USC.
premier team in the Pac-12.
USC looked good against Stanford and kind of toward the end. I mean, I don't know if USC should be 7th, but USC is pretty good. But I think the Utah game against Florida, I really wish that they had played Florida in week 2, because if they play Southern Utah first and then they play at Florida, I think they beat Florida. It's tough in week 1 to do that.
I'll say it right now. They play Utah. They play Florida at Rice Eccles. They win that game.
I agree.
People are forgetting how that
absolutely.
game ended. That game ended with a very atypical floundering with,
Interception in the end zone.
I mean, that to me, that a couple things about USC. Let's bring it back. So we know what happened in Florida, but Tavion Thomas is legit. That dude, having him, the great part is we're all going to find out in a couple of weeks which team's better. Until I see differently, I'm going with Utah as the better team. We definitely have the better offense, but they're like I said earlier, they are probably the most well-rounded on both sides of the ball, most complete team we have here in the Pac-12, with probably arguably one of the best coaching staffs in the Pac-12. So until shown otherwise, and until I see something in this USC interior defense that tells me, and also with USC's ability to set the edge. I was going on about the post-game show. We had a tight end do a 50-yard end around, and that play was so slow developing, and they still couldn't set the edge on that. It's a bit disappointing. So until our defense can show us that USC can stop a guy like Tavion Thomas and this Utah rushing attack, where I still have to say I'd give the hat to Utah. But again, we got a couple weeks to get together. If we get our defense together, the Pac-12 and pretty much every team not named Georgia better look out, in my opinion.
It's premature to even bring up USC in the discussion as the best team in the Pac-12 at this point. And that's purely disrespectful to Kyle Whittingham in the 17 years he's been the head coach at Utah. They're Pac-12 champions. He's developed a culture there, very physical, smash you in the mouth, great defensive teams. And so my hat's off to Utah. Until USC goes into Rice Eccles and beats Utah, then you can have some discussion. That's going to be a heck of a game. Lincoln Riley versus Kyle Whittingham's defense at Rice Eccles. So I've got to go with Utah right now until USC can show me that they can beat Utah.
And I think Utah's going to have a heck of a game with San Diego State, so that's going to be kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, I really feel bad for Utah because, I mean, you look at Kentucky. Kentucky had Miami, Ohio in week 1, and then they play at Florida, and they win. Again, I really do feel if Utah played Southern Utah first, got that game under their belt, I think they go on the road at Florida and win, because I do think, I know why these games are done, but I can't stand these week 1 games for some of these teams that have to go on the road like that and play these tough teams because you're not ready. You're not ready for these games. If Utah played Florida when week 2 on the road or even week 3, I think they win because, like you said, the game went down to the end, and it was an uncharacteristic mistake by Cam Rising. I just think that really hurt Utah, and if Utah had a won, then they'd be probably fourth or 5th in the country right now. And that's a really unfortunate loss for Utah. And I really do think they would have won if it wasn't a week 1 game. That really sucks.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with you, Rick, that Utah is probably better, but USC's potential ceiling is higher than Utah's, in my opinion, though. because they have more talent probably than Utah, but Utah is right now probably the best team. I agree with that as well.
And we got David pointing out Utah would win 9 of 10 times against Florida. Probably right. How much does it stink that it was that one? What else do you got for us, Jeffrey?
Well, maybe 9 out of 10. Might be 9 out of 10 at home. I don't think they're winning 9 out of 10 at the Swamp.
Nah, it's more probably like 6 out of 10, 6 or 7 out of 10 on
6 out of 10.
I think that's right.
Probably right.
Especially since it was week 1. The only other thing that's really coming to my mind to ask right now is two quick more things. Number one, I saw you were talking about earlier with California and Notre Dame. There's no way that Notre Dame's losing again. There's just no way. I mean, Marcus Freeman's 0-3 as a head coach, and Notre Dame fans are going nuts. There's no way they lose to California. I don't see it.
Jeffrey,
if they lose, it'd be a disaster for Notre Dame.
Jeffrey, do you know Notre Dame's backup quarterback Drew Pine looks younger than you? He's going to be out there. He's going to be out there in his first collegiate game at Notre Dame Stadium wearing the gold helmet, and all that leprechaun pressure is going to be on him.
Anything is going to look really good handing it off.
He's not going to
have to throw, and his defense will carry him, and they'll be fine.
He also looked a little bit like, the guy who's like the tackling dummy in like a self-defense training, as he just got laid out by the Marshall defense. So we'll see. But Will's going to be on with us in a little bit to talk a little bit more about that.
Really quickly. I want
to give a thank you to LW, first of all. Thank you, LW. Always one of our favorites. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I wanted to get back to the game. I just want to thank him really quickly. Thank you. Excellent job. Good to have the Alabama fan in here. But really quickly, here's my problem. You just said it there about the Notre Dame game, Rick.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of pressure on this team. Not just the team, but also on the coach and the coaching staff. So if you look at the rosters, you line both those rosters up, and you look again, that front seven at Notre Dame didn't just disappear overnight. They're still there, and we've seen that Cal offense. I know you've got a friend of a friend playing quarterback, but I just really think that they're going to struggle to score, and I do think on an undersized defensive line, I think that they're going to be able, like Jeffrey said, they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground. They're not going to. This game plan is heavily going to be based on running the ball with that big offensive line down Cal's throat. And I think they squeak it out. But the one thing, that wild card there, is you have a young head coach going into this game with all the pressure of the universe. Being the head coach at Notre Dame is not an easy job. Well, try being the head coach at Notre Dame when you've lost 3 games in a row and had a really embarrassing loss at home. So if they knuckle up, they might have a serious problem on their hands. But again, I think on talent alone, they should win this game.
I agree with you, Tim, but you got to look at it from this standpoint as well. Will Cox is a veteran coach, defensive coordinator, and he comes into this game. He's going to scheme up some different looks because Notre Dame comes in, realistically, a one-dimensional team. They're going to run the ball, like you said, and he's going to prepare for that. But he's going to make Drew Pine beat them or take shots and beat them. It's like he's not going to be able to throw the ball. They know that. So I think from a one-dimensional standpoint, he's going to be able to give some different looks to Notre Dame and to stop the run game. And then they'll be ready for when Drew Pine does throw the ball at all to capitalize on mistakes. But it's going to be a defensive-minded game. It's not going to be a high-scoring game at all. And that's why I give Notre Dame a chance.
I mean, defensive struggle, but what I'm really looking at is you look at Michael Mayer. This dude is a monster. And so you're gonna have a heavy dose of running game. And if I'm an offensive coordinator, I don't, granted this could be Drew Pine, but if I'm a 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 6, there's not many other players in this country I would want on their side of the line of scrimmage than Michael Mayer looking back with big old paws. That catch he had at the goal line last week was just, that ball was tipped. So we're talking about a big dude with great hands, huge mitts, super physical. I actually think he might be the difference in this game.
All right, we got folks waiting real quick. Hey, Jeffrey, thank you so much. We appreciate having you as always. Jeffrey, you're awesome. Where do the guys find you at?
You can find me at Only Talk Sports YouTube channel. That's all I got. And I I got some previews and predictions on a couple games, but I'm done be doing a Washington, Michigan State tomorrow. And again, I'm picking Washington. I'm spoiling it. Go Washington. I want Penix to win, but thank you. I'm glad I was on again.
All right.
Thank
Only
you.
Talk Sports with Jeffrey, guys. Definitely check it out. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks,
Jeffrey.
I'll definitely call in next Wednesday.
All right. We'll see you next Wednesday. All right. Thank you guys for being patient. We've got Chris and Zach. Guys, welcome to Pac-12 Live. Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in Utah right now. I'm going to the game on Saturday.
Are you? Nice. That's going to be a good one.
Does anyone have any requests? Want me to yell at any of the players or anything?
Which game are you at?
Wait, what did you say?
Which game are you at right now?
I'm not Utah. I actually just moved here for school.
Oh,
no. You go to the U?
No. I don't go to the. I mean, like I had an internship. They sent me over here and everything.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's
I'm
really
super
cool.
into football. I never really liked Utah though because of what they say about it. You know what it stands for. That ass honks.
All right. Thank you anyway. All right. Well, that was our first our first one of those we've had. It's kind of adventuresome.
BYU
A BYU fan, I think. Yeah,
you must
exactly.
be a BYU fan.
Definitely a BYU fan. All right, Zach, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. If you guys don't mind, I want to track back to what was said about the Washington and Michigan State game because personally, I am a Michigan State believer in this one because, for one, the pass defense for Michigan State has been very much improved, and it was an absolute laughingstock last year where they had like the most allowed passing yards a game out of all the FBS teams. And I think Michigan State has a better shot than I think some people think because last year these Spartans had a similar test where they went down to Miami, played another Power 5 opponent, took care of business, played good football, and came out with a win. So personally to me, I am a big Michigan State believer in this one with the weapons they have on offense with Thorne, Reed, and the running back tandem of Berger and Broussard, which I think is one of the more underrated tandems in college football. And with the heavy Washington pass offense, I think Michigan State's pass defense, which is much improved, I think it can match up well. So I'm a Michigan State believer in this one.
All right. I you could well be right. I think the Spartans may find a way to pull it off.
Yeah, I think that will be probably the best game of the weekend. That game, I think, is going to be a great game. And again, I think the rest of the country is going to see, with Rice Eccles and with Austin, Husky Stadium is just an amazing venue for college football. And I really think you guys are in for a treat on this one because there will be a home field advantage. And again, I absolutely can see it going either way, Zach. There's no doubt about that. Neither team's running away with this, I think.
Yeah, and as Larry points out, Rice Eccles is going to be going off against SDSU for that rematch.
But I do believe, though, because it's at Washington, I think that's why I have Washington beating Michigan State.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Washington wins. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a good one.
I'm excited for the USC game too because the Fresno Oregon State game was good, but with USC's defense going against Fresno's offense, which is a unit that you cannot overlook, USC really needs to get some stops down the stretch. We know what their offense can do, but the test is can their defense get some stops in the early going and down the stretch. So if USC can do that, I think they'll be more than okay.
Hey, kudos to Zach, man, coming in with some solid analysis. I love your MSU Washington breakdown, and then you back it up with an encore with Fresno State, USC. Very solid, my man.
Well, and Zach, I don't know if you guys saw, Zach is with the College Football Across America show on D4's channel. And Zach always has really, really great takes on that. And so it's another channel you guys should definitely check out. One of our favorites.
Yeah, we go live every Wednesday before this show, so you can catch our show, and then when we're done, you can head over here to support our friends from the Pac-12. But I'm a little tired.
In your honor, we're giving you a little bit here of a little bit here of Big Ten Pac-12 love. Hold on, you gotta fix it. Where's the? Oh, I can't find it. There we go. Show a little love for our Big 12, our Big Ten friends up on the screen there.
There we go.
Zach, what do you think about the Minnesota game? Is Colorado going to get torched?
Oh yeah, they are going to get Minnesota. They're pretty solid, but Colorado is just absolutely terrible. I mean, what else is there to say?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. It is literally it is bad in Boulder, guys. How long can we hold out with this mess in Colorado? I mean, Colorado is a phenomenal school in a beautiful place. They appeal to recruits. You got one of the coolest stadiums going. How is this team so bad? And at what point is this gonna stop being tolerable for them?
I just think there's one person who could answer that question for you, Tony, because it's amazing what they did at Colorado. They must have seen what a phenomenal job Carl Jarrell did at UCLA and said, you know what? We're going to double down on this, or we're going to go for it. Carl's our guy. What do you think, Chris?
He had a 10-win season at UCLA. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
No, actually. I know it happened. I know it happened, but like, I don't know. Maybe did they have a similar schedule to the one they have this year? Is that what happened?
They won a lot of games very close that like somehow pulled it out. When it
so the opposite of Scott Frost.
What's crazy about Colorado, and maybe it's not as impressive after last week, but they almost they were pretty close to putting Jimbo Fisher on the CD's on now last year when Texas A&M came to Boulder, and Colorado was terrible then, and they almost beat A&M that year.
Oh, the writing was on the wall.
You don't want to hear that. And that team went and beat Alabama. Holy Jesus.
But if you guys think about it like this, though, Colorado went to the Pac-12 the same time Nebraska went to the Big Ten, right? Colorado has almost as many wins as Nebraska does in the Big Ten. The problem is Colorado, since they joined the Pac-12, have they really spent any money on that football program? I mean,
very little.
They don't put no money into renovation. They don't put money into facilities. They don't go after a big name coach. Their recruiting has not been very well. I mean, they're just not putting money into that program ever since they left the Big 12.
Right, which is why they lost Mel Tucker, among other reasons, to Michigan State.
Yeah,
and then look what he's done. He's put that program in the top 10 nationally he's done some good things. He's made them a very solid program, top 10, top 15 regularly, which is something that we haven't seen from Michigan State in a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's impressive to see them coming back.
I don't know the answer to this about why Colorado hasn't put money in the program, but perhaps when they joined the Pac-12, their revenue projections, fell short from what was promised by Larry Scott. So I don't know that. You capitalize that.
I think it's a safe assumption that everyone's revenue is falling short by what Larry Scott projected.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me they couldn't turn around the windfall that Larry gave us and turn it into that championships?
I'm trying to just give you a quick math lesson right here, doing the numbers. And, they joined the conference, and they were one of the voting members to go with equal revenue sharing.
You want a quick
all
math?
that money from the Pac-12 network didn't come in?
Yeah, it didn't come in.
It fell a little short.
Away with that money.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, we got another friend joining us right now. We got Jordan. Welcome, Jordan.
What's going on, guys?
Good to have you.
You got me munching on some Sour Patch Kids watermelon. They're good. I highly recommend it. This is not sponsored, by the way. They're really good. It's good, sweet and sour. But I'll try not to show my ass on here, literally.
I know. Hey, kind of a breakthrough. It's our first time we've had anybody like that.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like it's a rite of passage when you do this.
It's a rite of passage. We got probably a BYU fan there from Utah.
But you should have figured that, Tony. You should have planned for that because when you do an after dark, that's when the moons come out.
It is. The moons come out after dark. It's true. The BYU moons.
Just a little quick plug here. Like myself, you can also find Jordan on D4's channel with college football all across America. Jordan does a lot of great things for us, brings some good analysis, probably some of the top. So, come check us out on D4 Sports' channel, who is also a good friend of these guys over here at the Voice of College Football.
I love the enthusiasm. I appreciate that, Zach, by the way.
Of course.
That's, Zach's my boy. We've been doing college. It's been a year now. Well, we're in our second season doing it. It's been a fun ride, and I wouldn't rather do it with anybody else. So
yeah, we got a good group over there.
Yeah,
we have a fun time.
I love the enthusiasm. Daz 8833. Clemson does suck. Yes. Woo. I'm glad I'm on the Pac-12 show and I'm still getting
and you're getting love.
Exactly.
Jordan,
there you go.
Jordan, you know what that means? Clemson's good. That's what it means.
Well, we'll see. Sometimes they do. Sometimes when people say someone sucks, they do suck. But no, I'm just kidding. Clemson doesn't suck. But anyway, let's keep this Pac-12. But yeah, I am really interested in. I know you guys have been on a long tangent about Washington and Michigan State in that game, but that is really one of the more intriguing matchups of this weekend. I don't know. I think that Michael Penix is averaging I believe he's averaging 10 yards an attempt. It's been a long time since I've seen Washington be this explosive on offense. I know they haven't really played anybody great, but I think they've made some really huge strides. I think Kalen DeBoer has kind of flipped kind of flipped that offense completely in 1 year, and it's just pretty phenomenal to see. I know Zach mentioned Michigan State, the improvement of Michigan State in that secondary. They've gotten some key transfers. Amir Speed from Georgia is one notable one. But yeah, I think this is going to be I like Washington here, but I don't feel great about it. Just because of the the proven track. I mean, obviously Michigan State has been good. They were good last year, and they're still rolling, and they've made some improvements defensively. But I'm going to be a Pac-12 homer here. I like Washington. So yeah, give me Michael Penix, that offense. I think they're going to do just enough. I don't know if it's going to be a high scoring game, but I think they'll do just enough to get the dub.
Bow down to Washington. And another fan joining us. We've got I think we're gonna have some hot takes here on Notre Dame versus Cal. Will, straight out of practice?
Yeah, straight out of practice. Yeah, it was a good one. It was fun.
All right, tell us. We've heard some folks thinking the Bears are gonna be able to pull it off.
Oh, of course. I think this is the springboard game for our season. I think we can get some points on the board, get Chris Tyree running, hopefully get Tobias Merriweather in. I really want the coaches to put him in because he would really open our offense up as a bigger receiver. And get Chris Tyree because the O-line's been struggling. We need to get Chris Tyree in some runs because he only needs a little hole, and then he could just burst in. I know the Bears' offense is good, and they have some guys in the secondary that are going to be NFL players, but I think this is our springboard game, and I think we can go be 10-3 by the end of the year. I truly believe that. With the talent on our team, we should be able to go 10-3.
Well, I will say this: Jack Plummer, the last time he was at Notre Dame Stadium, I don't think he played too good.
Yeah. Yeah, our defense had a pretty good day.
I think you're going to have a pretty good day on defense too. Well, yeah. I hope I'm wrong, but I just really don't see how the Cal offensive line is going to stand up when it comes to town. And ordinary guy in chat, I do agree with you. You said earlier, you like Ott. I love that kid, Jaden Ott for Cal, the freshman running back. But he's super explosive, but I do not think that there's going to be room for him to run come Saturday.
And I really think we got to get 30 points in this game. 30 points, and I'll be satisfied with the offense. But the offense got to get going if we want to score any points against Clemson. We got to score like 30 points against Cal.
Easier said than done, man.
Well, yeah, easier said than done, but like I expect good high. Like this is Notre Dame. I expect us to play well.
I just think your bar is set pretty high.
You score 30 points, you win this game. Well, that's for sure. The question will be can you generate 30 points? Because I agreed with I think it might have been Rick who said, Wilcox is going to make you guys one dimensional. No, he's going to come up with a game schema plan to make Pine win this. And I'm not really sold on your receivers, but I was talking about the fact that on 3rd and 6th, there's not many other guys on their line of scrimmage I'd want than Michael Mayer, and I see a heavy dose of him. But Mikey, now I want you to put the worst case scenario hat on. Let's just say it did happen, and for whatever reason, Cal comes out with a win. Mikey, you want to know how hot would that hot seat be for Freeman?
No hot seat yet. This is year 1 for Marcus, so I think if we're bad next year, maybe, but I still think that with obviously, I think the only person really on the hot seat right now is Tommy Reese, and I think that he's pretty hot right now. But I don't think Marcus Freeman's on the hot seat unless the team's bad on offense next year. Then he might be on the hot seat. But even that, I still don't think so either.
That would be an incredibly expensive hot seat and probably not a good situation anyway.
Well, and plus he's recruiting well right now.
Recruiting phenomenal.
Recruiting class. If that's
give him a chance with his players.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing though. Nothing kills recruiting more than losing to Marshall at home and then Cal. So I agree with you. These kids are in high school. And they all talk, and they're all on Twitter. They're all on, and they're on Instagram. They're all talking to each other, and it's really rough. Nothing will kill a recruiting class because they're selling the fact that they're going to go even higher than where Kelly had them. And it's
Kelly didn't have Notre Dame very high for Notre Dame standards.
How quickly we forget Charlie Weiss and Bob Davie and Tyrone Willingham and
yes, but still they were terrible. Kelly was not that great, but Willingham, Weiss, and Davie were terrible.
Remember he's the winningest coach in Notre Dame history.
Well, he was half of the schedule is ACC team, so that we have to put that into consideration.
Do they make one playoffs under Kelly? I can't remember. 1 or 2?
They've been to 2. They went to 2.
Okay, so 2.
And a BCS game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which Bama absolutely killed them in. But one thing I think about Notre Dame's offense, and I said this on AAA when we were doing our team previews, it just felt like to me that Notre Dame's offense, in a sense, didn't have the horses, especially with Buckner. I said that Buckner and Notre Dame would go as far as Buckner took them, and here we are with Notre Dame's offense underperforming, and they're sitting there winless. So I think this is Notre Dame is playing out how I thought they would, not necessarily 0-2. But offensively underperforming. So they just don't have the horses.
I think we have. I think we have the horses. I just think that they need to be put in I still think the O-line isn't complete yet. I think the O-line will get much better as the season goes on.
Well, the offensive line was a unit that was advertised as being one of the strong suits.
They've been underperforming, but I feel like once we get our O-line set. Once we get our O-line set, our receivers are going to get better too. The team's not working the progress right now, but I think we can be a top 10 team by the time the season's done. Or at least
as we look, guys, at I just want to point out from something we got here in the comments as we look at Notre Dame, we look at the Big Ten, we look at the Pac-12, and we kind of combine them all together. Aren't we all just glad we don't go to Texas A&M?
Mm-hmm. So it's
Like-
funny. I have a funny story. Funny story about Texas A&M.
Okay, and I don't want to dwell on them, but I saw that comment. It dwelled on me that one of the things we can all come together with is like, wow, thank God we don't have to deal with any of that.
Yeah. So funny thing is though, we had a guy that come visit for the Marshall game. Obviously, the game didn't go well, but the other team, like it was between Notre Dame and Texas A&M for him at the end, and I still think we're gonna get him, which is so funny.
Nice.
Like, that was yeah.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good thing that after the Marshall game, one of, I think, the headliners in the Notre Dame class is Drake Bowen, the linebacker from Andrean High School, which is very close to me, and that's why I know about it, because he's one of the top player in the area of where I'm from. So good. It's good for Notre Dame that Drake Bowen is still locked in.
Yeah, Peyton Bowen and Charles Jagasaw also. Although people say that Peyton Bowen's going to Oklahoma, but all my Notre Dame guys say that's BS and that we're still going to keep Peyton Bowen.
Drake Bowen's going to Oklahoma.
No, Peyton Bowen. So we have two Bowens. We have two Bowens.
Okay.
Yeah, recruiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just throwing this out there. Is Sullivan Absher by any chance? Is he still locked in? Just wondering. I'd like to get him.
I can take a look. So.
No, actually, I follow him on Twitter, and he was, retweeting a bunch of Notre Dame players that were, after the Marshall game, and they were all, Notre Dame recruits, and he was, showing solidarity. I know it doesn't mean that much, but still, but if Absher wants to hop off the Notre Dame bandwagon, you come back to Clemson, we showed him a lot of love. Hey, Sam Pendleton too, while we're at it, but that's. That kind of cooled it early, but Absher, I was really mad we missed on. So
real quick, David from Arizona talking about the Arizona game pointed out Arizona paid only $425,000 for North Dakota State, so that's not bad.
Hey, I mean, looking at what all these other schools are paying for the opponents that they played, that's a bargain.
Yeah, that's not. And I mean, you guys also, when you think about it, I mean, the planes alone cost $100,000 probably.
But I heard that Texas A&M have changed their contracts with the new teams coming in. They're going to offer them $1.5 million, but if the team wins, it gets cut down to half.
Sounds about right.
That's what it should. That's what it probably should be. Oh, too funny. Let me put the link in the chat, guys. Anybody? We want to know, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Pac-12 games coming up this week? There are some big ones. So join us and tell us what you think.
So what do you guys think realistically this week? The Pac-12, how many games do you think they have to win for people to really start giving you guys the respect? I mean, if Washington beats Michigan State, you got to consider that a great win. If Oregon beats BYU, you got to consider that a great win. I mean, do you think that will get you guys,
I think they could. Jeff, I think they could win every single one of them, and like the doofuses in like Ames and stuff would be like, oh, this is a rookie conference. So I mean, they would people would still say that no matter what happened.
No, yeah, I completely agree with Tony. No one will care. We could go undefeated.
Vaguely familiar. I don't.
That was a pretty good Jeff Webster impression, Tony.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about Jeff Webster. I like Jeff Webster. I wasn't talking about Jeff Webster. I was more talking about some of the, the various yappers that we see, especially the Twitter folks. They're always looking for an excuse to
Jeff Webster.
Well, they're always looking for an excuse to rip on the Pac-12, and what they get really mad because like the Pac-12 typically doesn't really care enough about them to even care.
No, looking at this slate, the Pac-12 could go undefeated for the week. Possibly.
But ordinary guy making a Bilo reference in the chat. Wow.
I dare anybody to take $10 and do an 11-team parlay on the Pac-12. Ain't gonna happen. We're not gonna win every game. The only games that people.
Well, I didn't say you were. I was saying you could.
No.
Yeah,
we're not though.
Colorado.
We're never gonna do that. That's a conference thing. That can't happen.
Nationally, the only two games that really matter that people are going to look at is BYU at Oregon and Michigan State at Washington. And those are both home games for the Pac-12 in this round of games. Autzen and UW have great home field advantages, so everything is there for the Pac-12 to win these games. I don't think we win both. We're not gone on record as saying that, but we should do well in the other games. But there's always one Pac-12 slip up that you don't see. Like I believe Washington State's going to cook it up, and there's going to be other close games. I'm looking at you, TBM, with South Alabama coming to the Rose Bowl. So
I think
even
Arizona
a close game, they'll, nationally, people will poke fun at. That's just the Pac-12. We're used to it.
I think your game might be a little closer than our game. We might battle. It'll be interesting to see actually what comes out of that. But but back to the original respect question, I just don't think I don't think they could go. The conference could go undefeated, and like Tony's saying, I don't think it'll matter. It didn't matter when we beat LSU last year. It didn't matter when Oregon went into Ohio State and won last year. It won't. I mean, the fact that Michigan State is a 3.5 point underdog, meaning that Vegas thinks it's like a Nutrisite even 50-50 game, and one of them is a top 10 team in the country and the other is completely unranked, kind of shows you the difference between public perception and what numbers or what other sharps or whatever you want to call them actually think. And it's not going to matter until the conference is because Joe Public cares about who's in the playoff and who's that, and isn't looking at conference as a whole in a, I think, more holistic, reasonable way.
Okay, hold on, real quick, guys. I want to showcase some SEC logic here, as we like to call it. Jack, we love you. We're going to pick on you for just a minute, though, but it's done out of love. Jack, and I don't know if he's SEC fan, whatever, tries to say Mississippi State could beat the very best. Yeah, Mississippi State barely got by Arizona, who
more
was
cowbell,
and then tries to make an excuse about LSU. So it's Jack, we love you, but that's sort of SEC logic.
More cowbell, beat LSU. More cowbell. Let's go, cowbell. Come on.
Actually, yeah, I would love for the cowbell to beat LSU.
Will,
Chris,
you mentioned the term
earlier.
That would be fun.
Back to your statement earlier, Chris. This is a narrative. This is a national narrative that's been about 4 years in the running, and the fact is that there have been some marquee wins in the preseason that have been overlooked. The problem is that these schools that we have in the Pac-12, including USC, have underperformed, and not going winless in bowl games. It just builds this narrative. And when Utah had a great opportunity in Florida, they dropped the ball. No one was expecting Oregon to walk in there and win. But then again, you're talking about this. You had Washington State go straight into Camp Randall and win that game.
Right.
Not much love there either. Even with this win in Washington, maybe, but it's going to take time over time to start racking up these wins to make it happen. But you're right. It's weird that you have Washington unranked, but yet they are a favorite to a ranked team at home. So,
or that Oregon State or Washington State aren't ranked.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We'll see.
You
But
just
that
got to start
comes
racking
into
up the
the
wins.
problem
That's
of
all
the
they can do. We can't
preseason
cry
rank.
about it. We just got to win.
What do you guys think? We got such liveliness in the chat, guys. Come join us. Tell us what you think. Yeah, David Henry or Daniel Henry, I think you're right. Hopefully SC will be able to carry the flag. Maybe it's the Big Ten flag.
TBM.
Yeah, I'm gonna
getting back to pointing out, hey, UCLA beat LSU. Getting back to UCLA beating LSU last year, and nobody really cared, or Oregon going to Ohio State. Those are great wins, but at the same time, last year, University of Washington lost to Montana, and they also got boat raced by Michigan. And you take a look at Utah; they lost to San Diego State, and then UCLA ends up losing to Fresno State. So those are losses that happened, but really shouldn't. And you had Arizona losing to Northern Arizona. So we took a lot more hits than successes. And that's been really the pattern for the last 5-6 years with the Pac-12. As much as it hurts me to say it, it's true. And
no, that's great. But we're everything.
USC's back
That's
here.
great. It's all on a relative basis, right? And I guess the point I'm trying to make is the fact that I agree. Like in general, yes, there have been like the fact that we won a bowl game last year. Like it's not like I'm not saying the Pac-12 is the SEC or the Big Ten or anything, but like if the relative comparison of like the respect that a team gets for going on the road and beating a team like Wisconsin, like Washington State did, or what Oregon State does when no one's watching because everyone is asleep, beating two pretty good football teams that no one east of the Colorado Rockies knows about. Like no one cares to the same level, and it's reflected in perception. So is it the reason that like is that the sole reason that the Pac-12 is like talked poorly about all the time? No, like some of it is fairly deserved, but it's sort of like an avalanche that builds on itself way more than what reality is.
Guys, what do you think? We got, like I said, we got such good good take in the chat. I just put the link in the chat again. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Well, let's see what the Pac-12 does this weekend. This is week 3. I think there's a lot of winnable games. I believe there's 11 out-of-conference games. Hopefully the Pac-12 can win 9, 10, or 11 games. I don't think that's the case, but we'll see. And if that happens, then we continue building momentum. Like you mentioned.
Mike 3883's comment.
I think Larry. It sounds like Larry's going to join us in a minute to talk a little bit about the Utes.
But I mean, yeah, I can kind of commiserate with Pac-12 fans as far as no matter it doesn't really matter like what you do from a non-conference perspective. It's you're just not going to get that. You're not going to get that respect. I mean, I go back to 2016 when I talk about the ACC and stuff like that. The ACC finished with 5 ranked teams: the national champion, the Orange Bowl champion. They had the best. They had the best record against the Power 5 against the other Power 5 conferences. They were 10-3 against the SEC. They were clearly on the field the best conference, and it's still you still don't get that kind of recognition. So it's just one of those things. I mean, when the media narratives are driven by the SEC and to some extent the Big Ten. It's just you're not. It doesn't matter really what who you beat. It's the numbers speak for themselves, and you just got to let them. You got to let them play out. So,
but Jordan, can I ask you something? Do you blame a little bit of that on both the Pac-12 and the ACC commissioners? I mean, because we jump out there and we get it means more. Our commissioner is always out there talking, always hyping up the SEC, where the ACC and the Pac-12 they just I don't know. You don't see their commissioner very often, and when you do, they don't hype up all the teams. They like the ACC will prop up Clemson when they're doing good, or they'll prop up Miami if they're doing good, or Florida State, but they don't try to prop them all up at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that George Kliavkoff was at the Washington State-Wisconsin game. We're hyping up Washington State afterwards. I think the Pac-12 is taking right steps in the right direction with that right now with their new commissioner, George Kliavkoff.
Yeah, I was a little surprised he was there. I would have thought that he would be at the USC-Stanford game as the first conference game and the national primetime game. But yeah, I think you're right. It was really, really fortuitous that he was there while Wazoo was able to pull off a big win. And they're with their new chancellor and their president, who was the Pac-12's chairman for a long time.
Tim and Tony, can I ask you a question, and Rick too? How are SC and UCLA supposed to compete in the Big Ten when Washington State can only beat Wisconsin on the road by 3 points?
Yeah, I think
SC's never had trouble competing in the Big Ten. And actually, UCLA does
That's
just fine in
my
the Big Ten
point.
too.
I think he's being sarcastic, Tony.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think that they're one thing I've been noticing this year about the Pac-12 is that you're starting to see quarterbacks evolve again, you know, and I've always been taking pride in the quarterback play in the Pac-12, which has seen a significant dip over the past, I would say, at least 5-6 years, in my opinion. And this league has been built on great quarterbacks, great passing attacks, and I see that coming back again. It may not be sustained because I think a couple teams are leaving, but there is still room for the Pac-12 to make some noise this year. Like Mark just put in the chat, there's some really big games this week that are going to shape perception. Can the Pac-12 win these games? Because again, that's the only thing that's going to change this narrative.
Connor, by the way, are you calling in to talk about the Beavs? Speaking of one of our favorite team stars, let's welcome Larry, devout Utah fan. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, thanks. Talk to us about the Utes and your big game this week.
Oh, we should be just fine. San Diego State lost all their super seniors, so we should be good. And we don't have Charlie Brewer starting, so we're in good shape.
Yeah, I think that's definitely actually a help for you guys. And Utah looked great.
Yeah, actually, none of the starters even were in the second half. I think the defense was the first series, but it was the third quarter was the second and third string, and the fourth quarter was the third and the fourth string. So they literally, it was the walk-ons in the fourth quarter, and they still managed 14 points. So we had our third QB in for the fourth quarter and our walk-on running back, and they still scored 14 points. So they're pretty good. But there was a point, and I can't remember what reporter did it, but he was talking about how 2020 killed the Pac-12 more than anybody, because like Washington played 4 games, and that was with Jimmy Lake in his first year. If you went through the whole conference and looked at it, I mean, I think we averaged 5 games. Everybody was almost in a freshman rebuild year as well. And so 2020 really put us behind. And then the Mountain West teams were all super seniors. I mean, Utah State, San Diego State, Fresno State, very senior leading teams. So we weren't doing great to begin with, and it didn't help us. 2020 really put us behind another year. So I think we're starting to catch up, and I think we're back to where, you could say is it the ACC or the Pac-12 now at the bottom. So we'll see. And then thanks for the props on Utah, guys. You guys aren't homers. I was shocked when you, Tim, said that you think Utah's the most well-rounded.
They're a good team.
Yeah, they are. So
Larry, have you seen our defense?
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, but you know what? The whole preseason thing was, we know your defense is bad, but who can keep up? If your defense gets 1 or 2 stops, you got to, that's all you guys need. So.
Agreed. Pressure can be a great 12th man. When you have an offense that knows they need to keep scoring, you're right. That can be helpful. Again, I'm not saying. What we have to realize is I'm really hard on this defense because I do have high expectations for it. I have to realize sometimes pull back and realize this is just this unit's 3rd game together. Most of these guys, this is a patchwork defense, guys from all over the country, and start learning a new system under Grinch. So it's going to get better. And if people are going to get to USC, it's going to be in the first half of the season, which is why I'm really concerned about, to a small degree, Fresno State, but to a larger degree, Oregon State up in Corvallis, and then going up to Salt Lake City to play you guys at Rice Eccles. I think that people are going to get to this defense. I think they're going to get to them early. I don't expect this defense to be, world beaters by the end of the year. But I do think that it's going to be solid. They get 7-8 games underneath them, getting used to the system, getting the communication down, linebackers, and getting the same terminology together. I think that's where little hiccups are. There've been a number of blown plays. Riley came out on Monday and said the biggest problem they have, when he looked at the tape, they said, what's the biggest thing you saw on tape? He said, no, I think we were out in front of it. Our big issue right now is getting guys to get rid of the mental mistakes. And if this defense can shed some of those mental mistakes, I think that we're going to be a lot to handle, but we're clearly not there yet.
Yeah, I think I like I was saying, I think a lot of it's going to come down to the gelling between, Utah's defense and USC's, because we have 5 new guys. We have 3 linebackers who have never played a game together till they went to Florida. True freshman, a redshirt sophomore, and a transfer. You have 3 linebackers that have got to learn to gel, because Utah and Grinch does the same thing. They spill a lot with their ends and their backers to cover edge. And so it's like you're saying, who's going to get on the page first, and those guys are going to gel together and know what the other guy's doing in gap assignment. So, you guys have the ponies between, who is it? Not Robertson. Who did you get from ASU?
Oh,
Gentry.
Yeah,
Gentry.
we got Eric Gentry.
Gentry's a beast. Gentry's a beast, and Shane Lee's a beast. If those guys get on the same page in gap fits and stuff like that, that defense, it's going to be hard to, get by them, because, those guys are studs. So, and then I put it in the chat. My barn burner is going to be Oregon State. I think that huge win. They're coming home. I think they're going to sleepwalk, and they're going to be looking at USC. They should win hands down, but I think this is a look ahead for Oregon State. I really do. I think they're going to squeak by. That's my close game of the week.
There's always that potential to be caught looking ahead. Definitely with a big matchup with SC. I definitely that's a great pick.
Mine is North Dakota State and Arizona.
Will, what do you think about that one? You haven't given us your full view on that.
I feel like Arizona and Jedd Fisch, they're doing great things, they were pretty competitive against Mississippi State. But I don't know. I feel like North Dakota State, I don't know how good North Dakota State is compared to how they were last year. But just like the tradition of that program, I think it could go down to the last possession. But I think the Cats will squeak it out.
Oh, we got Ferris in the chat, by the way. Yeah, no, I think. Well, that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I'm really sad. It's exactly opposite USC. So I'm going to have one on one screen and one on the other as they're going on.
Yeah, I remember last year, Colorado, they were not a horrible team. Utah was up by 1 touchdown before half, and Britton Covey came on after the game, and it was like everybody said, we're not looking past Colorado to the Pac-12 championship. Covey came on and he said, it's so hard when you're in a game and the next game is the bigger one. Even though you're in the game and you prepare for it, he said it's hard not to look ahead as a player. No matter what your coach tells you, when you're on the field and you can beat the guy across from you, you're worrying about next week, So it's going to be an interesting week, and I think Peyton Thorne. I watched him play last year. I don't think Peyton Thorne's that good, and I think that crowd is going to scream him into confusion and mistakes, and that's why I think Washington's going to win, because that 19 Utah team that went in there, they were. I think they've only got 2 guys left off that team who haven't went to the NFL. Those guys struggled to get the win up there, and that was a 7 or 8 win Washington. So I've seen that stadium erupt, and it's hard to win there. So I might put a little money on Washington this week.
I think the Spartans will. I feel like Peyton Thorne, he's not an amazing quarterback, but in the second half against Pitt, he definitely made some plays and impressed me. I think he's like Sean Clifford level. Would you agree, Jordan? Would you say Sean Clifford level?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So I don't know.
A little different skill sets, but in terms of the value they bring to the team, I think they're both plus value quarterbacks, but not much more than that.
All right, Ferris.
Will, that one was just for you. Just for you right there.
And then
I mean, I feel like these recruits are smart enough to know what Marcus Freeman's building, and I think we'll keep almost all of them. I still think we'll have a top 5 recruiting class in the country by the end of it.
And then I don't know who the Big 12 troll guy is, but I really think we need to send that guy Colorado. He is just jonesing for somebody out of the Pac-12. So
yeah, I mean, Colorado. Do they? I mean, they're really worried about like national prestige. I'm not sure Colorado's the team they want, but they seem to want them. They can have them.
Hey, academics, if they want to improve their academics, Colorado would do that, right? For the Big 12.
Oh, it definitely would. They only have that conference only has one AAU school now.
Right,
so
but isn't Baylor's pretty good though, aren't they academically?
They are. They don't do a lot of graduate research, but they're doing a lot of Baylor's doing a lot of great things. They have a great president. And they're doing some really, really, really good stuff.
Okay. All right. And then I had another topic. I'll remember if you guys want to carry on for a second.
Yeah, no, I really like some of the stuff there. And they have an amazing AD too. Really, really amazing.
That would be a good trade for the Pac-12.
Yeah, that really would be. They
give
should
us
do
Texas Tech or something. I mean, give us a win, but some fans. And yeah, I don't know.
Oh, guys, we put the beaver alarm out. Get your chainsaws. We have Mr. Oregon State himself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Connor Johnson. Connor, welcome.
Connor, my man.
Fellas.
Connor, you guys are going up. You're going up to the big stadium this weekend.
Yeah, bigger than ours right now.
I know. Tell us about it. What are we going to see out of the Beavs? You guys who deserve to be ranked and have been shafted by the national media. You got Montana State, who's a legit team. What's going to happen up there at Providence Park?
I've been taking some notes because I've been listening while I've been cooking. So I'm going to have to start cooking earlier. I don't know why I always eat late. Okay, so I have some time now. So first off with Montana State, Providence is going to be cool. Within the last 2 years, they added on seats and they kind of like domed it out at the top. I think I see it in your picture. That top row right there is pretty brand new. And I've been there. It's always consistently one of the top 3 MLS stadiums. Seattle's up there, but that's a football field. And then, I don't know, I argue it's the best. So it's sold out, which is good. I think it holds almost 30, and the Beav Stadium right now with half capacity is about the same. So yeah, sold out. And
actually real quick, are you guys that big at half capacity? I wasn't actually sure what the number turned out to be.
27.
Oh, that's bigger than I thought. Okay.
Well, it's not necessarily half. I think when it's done, it's going to be low 40s since it's only one side. But yeah, I was looking. So somebody said we have to watch out for Montana State, and Jonathan Smith in a press conference said he stopped, took a breath, and said, "These guys have our full attention. We're not skipping a week." Because North Dakota State, correct me if I'm wrong, played Montana State in the FCS championship last year. So,
I think so.
It's kind of a cool narrative that Arizona and Oregon State, the 2 programs turning ourselves around, are competing with the best in the FCS. So we'll see how we fare. Montana State, though, is a little injured. Their top 2 running backs are hurt. So they're going to throw, I don't know, a third-string running back at a FCS school is probably not the most athletic or to be feared. But still, have to take them seriously. I was bored, and I added up the weight on our offensive line and compared it to their offensive line. I think our offensive line is like 120 pounds bigger. Our defensive line is like 100 pounds bigger. The combined weight added up to like 250 people between like the 9 people on both the lines, a whole extra lineman, which I think is just the key between FBS, FCS is the lines. There aren't very many 6'5", 300-pound linemen out there. But they're going to give it, they're used to winning. They're going to come here and fight, I still think we get our second stringers, Ben Goldbranson, our backup quarterback, or maybe Jebbia, by the second half. So I wanted to also talk about, we can wrap that up if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
I guess that's a no. I wanted to touch on, so having just seen Fresno, being very familiar, and I just watched the 30-minute highlights of the USC Stanford game. I think my key takeaways were Fresno moves the ball. They have wide receiver talent that is comparable to some Power 5 programs, some good Power 5 programs. And Jake Haener, I think, is an NFL quarterback just based off of his decision-making and his he has the it factor, whatever that is. He has it. And we had 5 takeaways in our first game against Boise. We had 0 in the second. So he's not going to give you the ball. I was watching Stanford would drive the ball, at least in the first half. They got in the red zone. They got in the 10-yard line multiple times and either fumbled or threw an interception. So the difference is Fresno can score. Now, Fresno got in the red zone with us 3 times, and we held them to four times. We held them to 3 of 4 field goals. So if y'all can do that bend but not break, because I don't see the turnovers coming. Jake Haener's not going to make a mistake. Their running back Sims protects the ball. He's a veteran. If you can hold him to field goals, I think your offense is a notch above ours. So you should score more than, I think we had 34. But I watched Jake Haener's press conference, and he is coming there to play. He grew up a USC fan, and he's always, that was his dream school. They didn't recruit him.
No, and the problem with Jake Haener, by the way, if you guys haven't seen Jake Haener in interviews, Jake Haener is an awesome guy. Jake Haener's smart. Jake Haener's cool. He's from an awesome family. Like, I mean, his mom is one of the top news hosts in.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, his mom's a famous broadcaster in San Francisco. In fact, when he was at Elite 11, and they said this is like the best prank ever. I don't know if you guys have seen it. When Jake Haener was at the Elite 11, and they sit you down at Elite 11 to practice interviewing with real journalists, and they brought his mom in, and so instead of Yogi Roth, it was his mom, who's like a San Francisco investigative journalist, and she was like,
I need to find that.
Tell me what you look to be as a quarterback. It was really funny.
Yeah, see, these are the type of nuggets you can only get on the Pac-12 live chat show. Exactly. Tony, that was gold. Thank you.
It's a great. The video's on YouTube. It's a great video.
I think Fresno's sending 25,000 fans down there. So
I believe it.
Maybe
the red wave is legit.
Yeah, no, they showed up last year to the Rose Bowl. Granted, there's probably a lot of seats available there. No, they'll definitely show up. They'll definitely show up.
I think 25,000 is inflated, but they will send a lot of fans.
We have a knowledgeable panel, but for Jordan or guys that aren't familiar with West Coast football, Fresno State is not. I mean, DeBoer just went to Washington, and his offense is great. But Fresno State historically, has always competed. As far as a program goes, they're right up there with Boise to be let into the Pac-12 next. Disregard where they are, but so I don't think USC is going to sleep on this. But I think the players from all over the country don't know that there's a little bit of a rivalry between Fresno and USC, and Fresno guys know for sure. So they're going to go down and punch USC in the mouth, and USC will have to punch back. So I still think USC wins. And if they do and we win, I think the media has to put us in the top 25 just so that it looks good when we play on the dot.
Right.
Bro, I don't want to get the
late to
Pac-12
change?
network. It's not fair, man.
You guys know why this USC Oregon State game's on the Pac-12 network?
Because you're obligated to have 3 games, and the media wants to hope that you're actually really good, so they can have all your late season games.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
they want to save them in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. Doubt there, Chris?
They might not be right.
There's a little bit of doubt in there. I like it.
Oh, I thought College Game Day could be in Corvallis, or at least a chance. Obviously, that sounds ridiculous, but they would have had to. And Nick Dashel posted, he's one of the writers up here, that it's still on the table, but like, who's going to have College Game Day and then it not be on national TV?
Well,
I think it's too late to even change it.
Yeah, and the hard thing about College Game Day in the West Coast, guys, is that College Game Day wants a crowd and a lively atmosphere, and that means that kids have to get there at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
and that is just
dark out.
Even when it's been at USC and UCLA, they do it up and it's kind of fun, but the crowds are nothing compared to like James Madison, because that 3-hour difference makes all the difference, and especially with College Game Day, the other issue is the game itself is often at night. And so
I'll tell you, Tony, I've been to the ones at USC. I've definitely seen the ones up in Austin. And when we get a chance, we do show out.
We do show out.
Dark. You get there,
it's dark. It's cold. The game's not for another 14 hours. It's just for the game day scheduling experience. They're always going to have fans wherever they go, but it makes sense that you're going to go somewhere that the game is, within 14 hours of when your thing is.
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was, but one of them famous, it might have even been Herb Street, said that he talked about they've been doing a lot, and one of his favorite places to go for game day is Austin. So again,
Austin's great.
The fans in the Pacific Northwest we all know they're nuts, and
they're awesome. Beaters. Oregon State had it once in 2005, and the whole quad, like the Memorial Union quad, was just filled. They put it right.
That's a beautiful building too. That building is awesome.
Yeah, it's old school. That was like the backdrop. I think it was an Oregon State game.
Oh, nice. Oregon State has a beautiful campus that nobody knows about.
That's why I came here.
And it's funny too, because the thing about Oregon State is that a lot of people assume Oregon State's the ag school, but it's actually much closer to Portland than Oregon. So I have a lot of friends who are like, I'd rather be at Oregon State. But by the way, this weekend we are all Ducks as well. So in fact we got Mikey coming in a minute, who's a big devout Duck.
Well, you're gassing me up. I must say USC. I've been to Stanford, USC. Haven't been up to Seattle yet. But when I went to USC, I went to the USC Stanford game in 2007 or 8. No. It was later than that. It would have been 2012. It was a great game. It was two top 15 teams. USC won on a late field goal. But we tailgated in the midst, because you're kind of you're walking from the hood, and then all of a sudden you're on campus, and all the frats and sorority, all the kids were out, and it was just kids. I was a kid at the same age at the time, but USC did it right, especially for where it is. That was a fun.
It's a fun place to go to games.
Of course, the Coliseum too. Yeah, way outdid Stanford. My sister got her MBA there at Stanford, and we went and did those tailgates, and it was just, it was a little bit, but it was laughable when you compare to SEC country.
But Stanford is off this week. But everybody who saw our show with the Stanford tree last week, the new Stanford tree is being unveiled at next week's game.
Yes, it is.
So get ready, guys. There's going to be a new Stanford tree costume.
And he said it was the most unique ever or something.
I know. Well, you guys met Jordan, who's such a cool guy. I hope everybody in the chat, if you didn't see our interview with Jordan Zeitz, who's the Stanford tree, really, really neat guy. Also CEO of a video game company, in addition to being Stanford tree.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah, those are future leaders of America.
Yeah, he has an awesome first name too. So yeah, gotta give him that.
Hey, Connor, what do you?
You gotta go eat food.
I'll answer this one.
I was going to say what you were going to talk about the Stanford tailgating. Go ahead and continue. Was it were you getting your fill of Chardonnay and brie cheese, or what was it like?
We did it with the undergrad. First, we went to the NBA tailgate, which is they barely stuck around. There was charcuterie boards, no joke. And then we went to they tailgate by all their.
Ours aren't that different, guys.
Where are the hot dogs and beer? No, wine and charcuterie.
We have charcuterie boards too.
They're
delicious.
We went to the main tailgate. The students, the undergrads, all do it on the practice fields next to the stadium, and they kind of had a DJ out. It was kind of just a party versus tailgating, dancing, and it was kind of weird but kind of fun. And then all the kids left at halftime for the game. Stanford has a hard time selling that place out anyways. But it was just kind of something to do for the kids on the weekend there.
Well, Christian McCaffrey was famous for coming back, riding his bike back from the game, and one of his roommates looked at him and said, "Oh, where have you been?"
Christian McCaffrey. Oh, funny story. Last thing about Christian McCaffrey. You guys, I don't know if you guys
Then we'll bring
follow
on Mikey.
baseball, but Adley Rutschman, if you follow baseball, you know who that is. Catcher
Yeah.
for the Orioles.
Yeah, he's awesome.
1-1. He was a Beaver. He was recruited a two-sport athlete. He was on the football team, and he was the kicker. And imagine a kicker like that running down the field. I mean, he was jacked at the time too. So there's a play where against Stanford, he kicked off to Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey's about to break one. And Adley Rutschman absolutely lights him up and just sits on top of him and just houses him. It's a freaking awesome play. He's a legend at Oregon State, Adley Rutschman. And so is McCaffrey at Stanford. So that was fun.
Connor, I have one question for you because we haven't talked that much about what happened last week, but I need to know from the Oregon State fan perspective, what is going through your mind during the last 5 seconds of that game, starting from when you send the field goal team out and then Tedford's timeout, going through what happened and your reaction as it's happening?
That's a great question. I mean, first off, yeah, my heart was about to explode. And I was torn just as much as I think our coaches were. Because part of me was like, we can't, let's just end it here. We have Jack Coletto. And then the rational side is like, no, like just kick it, give yourself a chance in overtime. So first Smith sends the field goal kicking unit on the field.
They weren't going to kick. I saw the smile on his face. I knew there was going to be no kicking. Oh.
No, we lost.
Did I scare him? I scared him away. Connor, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you away.
So yeah, we sent
a
field
field
goal
goal
kicking unit out there. Sorry, I had a call. Field goal kicking unit goes out there. He actually kicks it in the process of being froze by Tedford. He makes it. I'm like, oh, great. Now he has to make it again. So we go back, and this is when in the huddle, Jim Mahelchuk, our offensive line coach, was saying that they were all in the huddle, and Smith lets everybody have the floor and they say their idea, and he's going to make the final decision. Coletto's in there too, and so they devise a plan to run left for Coletto. They run back out there. Fresno State's like, wait, what? We weren't ready for this. So we get to see how they're looking. They call it another timeout. And then in this next 30-second timeout, Coletto turns to the coaches and he's like, oh no, they think we're running left. They're not lined up right. I'm going to run right. He says that to Smith, and Smith's just like, all right, I trust you. And he runs out there and no problem gets in.
Yeah, Smith was going for it. Well, hey, Connor, thank you. We're keeping you from dinner. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hey, back to Pack.
Go Beavs this weekend.
Yeah, go Beavs.
Go Beavs.
All right, we'll see
the real OSU.
Bye, folks.
Take it easy. All right, next up to bat, we've got some love for the Ducks. Welcome, Mikey G.
What up, fellas? Can you hear me all right?
We got you.
Good.
Talk to us about the big game. We got the Ducks and the Cougars.
Yeah, well, first off, I wanted to shout out to Connor and give him a big congrats on beating Fresno. I mean, that was a wild game, and it gave you guys lots of good tape to look at. So,
hey, we can use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hayner and company come in, and it's in the Coliseum this week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we don't travel to Fresno.
Yeah. I don't imagine you do. But either way, yeah, I think Hayner comes in pretty hot, man. I think they feel like they have something to prove. And I don't know, man. I think that I like your guys' chances against Fresno, but as you guys have already kind of talked about during the show, is that there's that rivalry that's always at play with you guys. So anything's possible. Which kind of leads me to this next one. Not that BYU is a rivalry, but I think that there's just too much that we don't know about Oregon to say with high confidence how this is going to play out. I mean, I really respect BYU. I mean, obviously, Sataki's got that team rolling, and I think that they also had a wild win last week. And so I think that they come in with a chip on their shoulder, and they're coming into Autzen, which I think gives us the edge. But at the same time, like it's hard to say, right? Like the litmus test is BYU. We haven't had the identity of the team unfold yet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see.
And they have confidence because they went 5-0 against the Pac-12 last year. So they're looking to make it 6-0. But Oregon's got to stand up, and they, like you mentioned, Mikey, you got to find out who Oregon is, right? The first 2 weeks, you really can't tell. But this, you're at home against a reputable opponent. Here's the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of fans seem to think that we need to do this to prove something. I just want to, I would like to, and this is going to be very unpopular to say, but if we kept it competitive against BYU, even if we lost within a touchdown, I would be somewhat satisfied with that, given the circumstances around the team. Because BYU, I mean, they're no joke, and like you said, they were 5-0 against the Pac-12 last year. They're coming in with some swag, and I personally think that that's rat poison. I mean, they just boosted up in the rankings to 12, right? So they think that they're the better team, and they think they can win, which they can. But at the same time, like, you know, it's a lofty goal to win in Autzen, and if the team is fired up, as most of you guys on the panel know, it's very hard to win in that stadium. You know, no matter the year, you know, and I think that we've got a lot of talent on paper. There's no question there. It's just a matter of whether or not they've worked out all the kinks yet.
Yeah, the Pacific Northwest stadiums are loud. They just are. Again, just like Rice Eccles, I can't say it enough. Those are true, very true, knowledgeable fans as well. You know, there's nothing worse than having fans loud on third down and your team has the ball and they're all getting all excited. You know, the fans up in Austin, you guys know when to get loud and you know how to get loud. So, yeah, it's going to be. I wish you were a little more optimistic because I mean, I don't think BYU has a lot of fans these days. So we're kind of hoping that Oregon can give us. It's going to be a big game. The eyes of the country are going to be on this game, and it's really going to be. If we want to start getting the props we keep asking for, these are the games that the Pac-12 has to win.
For sure. I mean, it's a showcase game, no doubt, and everybody recognizes that. Both sides do. I mean, both sides want to prove something, right? And so I don't have enough information. Like those two blips on the radar, you've got us absolutely falling on our face against, you know, Georgia, and you've got us smashing Eastern Washington. Those don't really correlate very well. So it's very hard to kind of figure out like which one is the most accurate representation of this team. And you know, a lot of people fairly say, you know, that Georgia game, you're playing the best team in the country right now. And it just got away from you. And there was a lot of momentum, you know, you're in Atlanta and all these different things. But at the same time, like that's very discouraging to see the team kind of just completely downshift the way that they did. And, you know, say what you will about Dan Lanning. I'm one of his biggest fans. I think that he has all the acumen that you could ever ask for in a head coach in terms of just energizing the team, the acumen, the pedigree. You know, he's definitely the Saban tree and all this stuff. So he has the resume. Can he put it all together to keep this team focused? That was one of the things that is, I think, still in the Oregon DNA is we fall, and this is also typical of a lot of Pac-12 teams, but we fall on our face against the unranked opponents, the should wins. And that's something that I would really hone in on this year. I hope that Dan can kind of iron some of that stuff out and bring some of that discipline in and treat every game as if it's, you know, USC or UW or whatever else. We can't be losing to Arizona. We can't be losing to Colorado. We barely eked out a win against Cal last year. That was a wild one. And so, you know, it's a focus. It's a discipline thing. The energy is there. The talent is there. Can you put it all together? Can you execute?
Yeah, I think people forget about how long it takes for a defense, especially, right, to get caught up to speed in college football or even in high school football. You know, there's a lot of window dressing the offensive coordinators they have. They're going to have misdirection, you know, and so when you ask a bunch of guys to come in with a new defensive system, you know, they flood the zone. There's all kinds of things that an offense can do to confuse these guys that are in a new system, and it takes time for these guys to get used to what their responsibilities are, what their gaps are, and then on top of that, the communication and knowing, you know, who's going to pick up whom. And I think you guys are just learning that fact that in this world of instantly we want our team to be great and winning when a new coach comes in. There are always those growing pains, and that's what we worried about USC going forward. And We've seen it at Oregon, and it's nothing new in football. You have to give a defensive coordinator time to get his guys up to his system.
Yeah, 100%. And that was very evident based on, right out of the gate, you see Justin Flo and Noah Sewell kind of flat-footed. It looked like they were trying to make those reads that you're talking about. And, that's to be expected a little bit, but it just, us Oregon fans, we have high expectations and we know what these players are capable of. And so to see them not kind of rise up in that moment, it was, I don't have to tell you what it was like.
It's hard. It's hard to watch athletes, right? Have to think, you don't want them thinking, it kind of negates that, again, that natural size and speed that they have. Flo and Sewell are two of the better linebackers you see. But if you see them thinking and reacting instead of just attacking, you want to see those guys going downhill. But again, if this is a new system, they're going to have those moments where they're unsure, and that's what's making that defense look a little bit shaky.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's just what makes it so difficult to predict how this is going to play out. In one universe we could go in and just smash, and in another universe we have a similar outcome to Georgia, just because there's some momentum swing that happens where it just shell shocks the team, and the fans start. I don't want to say anything negative. I'm gonna project positivity because I'm an optimistic guy, and I think that we can definitely win and win with confidence. It's just a matter of what version are we going to get.
I appreciate you calling in, Mikey. Do you have any other for the season? So what do you think? So you're not sure about the game on Saturday, but what do you see? What do you predict for the rest of the season? Are you thinking championship game? What do the Ducks have?
Well, of course. I mean, doesn't everybody? Like, if you're a Colorado guy, and you're diehard and you're thinking, this might be the year seeing those positive things in the off season, you kind of still are, somewhat hopeful and optimistic that something goes your way and all the other cards kind of fall in your favor. So again, anything can happen. And we're talking week 3 now. So it's very hard to predict, especially with a brand new staff. But to answer your question, absolutely. Do I think that we can make it to the conference championship? Sure. I think that, you guys have talked a lot about, the obstacles for us, and those no doubt are there, but, disaster in the desert is a thing, because we have fallen on our face in the desert multiple times, and that's always on the cusp, like we've got all the momentum in the world to make it to, a BCS game or a playoff or something like that, and then somebody gets hurt, or there's a buffoonerish play that happens and the whole game just changes. So I think realistically 9-3, I was going into this season thinking 9-3. I think that's still very achievable, and I think it's a healthy expectation given the brand new staff and everything else. So I'm going to the Utah game, obviously for every reason that I'm sure you're aware of. And I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere, regardless of kind of the scoreboard, like fans are just going to be fired up. And so, I'm happy to partake in that, but it's so tough. This off season, I've never been more energized than I have been, recently. And to see the Georgia game, it didn't add up, and so you kind of ask yourself, what was it that led me to believe that we were going to keep it within, 1 to 2 touchdowns of this amazing roster.
My question is going into the season were about Kenny Dillingham and Bo Nix. Can you sell me on them? Because so far I haven't been too excited what I've seen. What about you?
The short answer is no. I probably can't sell you on either one of them because I personally didn't like the move to bring in Bo. And again, I say a lot of unpopular things that might stir up some other Duck fans, but the thing is that he was a stopgap QB. I mean, everybody kind of saw that at face value, except for the people that were just completely bought into the new staff and they thought that was a stellar move. But the point is that I think that having a losing season or a 7-5 season anymore is kind of like, even if it's year one, you can't afford to have that anymore in college football, because you're talking about millions of dollars on the line, not making these bowl games. You're talking about recruiting. You're talking about, jobs being kept. And so I think that that's a safe move. Like, if Kenny Dillingham knows that Ty Thompson has got some, shaky tape, then he's going to go talk to his buddy that he coached up in 2019. And so, the Bo Nix thing is everything that everybody already knows about Bo Nix. Which version are you going to get? And I think that him having our very stout offensive line to protect him should give him all the confidence and ability to be the good Bo. But, he still makes these bonehead plays occasionally. In terms of Dillingham, I think that he shows a lot of potential. He's never fully coached a game until this year, or called plays for the offense. And so I think that from what we've seen so far, it's not hard to improve on last year in terms of the offense. I think that a lot of folks were, super. Their patience had worn thin with the inconsistency from Anthony Brown. And you can't really blame a whole lot of that on him so much as it was kind of, I think a lot of people thought Mario was tying the hands of Joe Moorhead. But at the same time, you got to run the offense that you're given. And if you're not running that consistently and effectively, then you can't help but take some of that blame. So I think it's an improved offense. I think that it's more explosive. And I really like the idea that he's balancing it out. He's going back to the air attack, and he's also trying to isolate these one-on-one matchups.
Cool.
Yeah, well, you brought up Ty Thompson, and everyone on the West Coast that follows recruiting knew that he was a big quarterback, big name quarterback. Do you think what's going on with his development? I would thought we would have seen him by now. Do you think it's the problem with the instability in the coaching, or what's going on? Have you heard anything why he's not seeing the field yet?
Yeah, I think that it's such a controversial thing because, like you said, he was very highly touted. A lot of people expected big things, and a lot of people expected him to come in this year and potentially even win the spot. Not me particularly, but they thought that he had a chance to even win over Bo, knowing what we knew about Bo. But at the same time, the reports from practice in spring and fall have been that, nothing official, but the kind of the subtext usually is that he's not the better quarterback. He's not making very good decisions. He's throwing some picks and whatnot. So, I'm in the Ty camp in as much as saying he needs to get some reps, right? If we have any hope of bringing in more 5-star talent, we've got to be able to point to our quarterbacks who enter the NFL and are doing well. And you have to develop these quarterbacks. If we make a name for ourselves as, a school that basically recruits at a high level but doesn't give these guys a shot, that's going to crush it. And that's always been my argument. So this last Saturday when he was down on 3 drives, he took it down for 2 scores out of 3. So that was encouraging to see. But that was great. I'm not lobbying for Ty to play over Bo. I'm lobbying for the development of Ty.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, Mikey, this is why I'm trying to get you. I appreciate Larry coming on talking about the Utes, Connor coming and talking about
thank you guys.
You guys really bring depth. I mean, we all on this panel, we love the Pac-12. We know a lot about the Pac-12, but the insight you guys bring just will make this show just that much more exciting. So I really hope you take time in your week to come visit us every Wednesday so we can continue this and talk about the Oregon Ducks win next week.
For sure. Thank you, Mikey. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick, shout out to you guys, man. You guys put together a phenomenal product here. I've never seen anything quite like it. And I think that,
thank you.
Yeah. And it's not just the graphics. People always talk about graphics. It's content. You guys are very good at not just engaging with, the other Pac-12 guys, but you bring up stuff that's very relevant. And like you said, Tim, when you're incorporating kind of this expert level knowledge on the, the teams and whatnot, I've learned so much about the conference. I thought I was fairly decent at understanding the Pac-12. Man, watching this show, it just brought it to the next level. So just keep it up. I love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you.
That's a perfect segue, guys. If you could do us all a favor and just take 1 second to hit that like button. Our goal is to grow this show. There are tons of Pac-12 orphans out there that don't even know this exists. The whole concept for this is we couldn't find anywhere on the Pac, anywhere where there's a call-in. There's plenty of great podcasts on the Pac-12. Ryan Abraham, no truck stops, right? There's great but there's not a place for you guys to have a voice. And as you just saw
and call in
with Connor and with Larry and with Mikey there, you guys bring a lot to the conversation, and we really appreciate everybody calling in. So if you guys could take a second, hit that like button for us, and we're going to reach a wider audience so we can just grow and make the show a little more richer. So
it helps a lot. Thank you guys. And thank you again, Mikey.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, sorry. I hit you a little too soon. Sorry, Mikey. I didn't mean to cut you off. And speaking of Mikeys, we have another Michael joining us. Michael, what's going on? What are you thinking about the Pac-12 this week?
Not much. I got a couple questions in reference to the Washington-Michigan State game. There has been times in the past with me being in Big Ten and stuff like that, watching Penix, he's been prone to having several different turnovers and stuff like that. And I wonder if that's what Michigan State's going to try to key in on with him this week. You think, or do you think he might be able to ball out with Washington and stuff, considering how they don't they didn't have a decent defense last year, but with Penix, he's been prone to turnovers in huge games before.
Yeah, again, he hasn't turned the ball over so far this year. I think he's not. I don't quote me on this, but it's like 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. His yardage is up there, but again, it's against Kent State and Portland State. So I'm sure that he's seen that MSU defense, and the Spartans are going to know his tendencies, right? This isn't new. So I am going to be interested to see. I said that a big thing here is going to be ball control, right? And in anything, it seems like a cliche, but it really is. You win that turnover battle in a close game. That's where games are won and lost. So if he turns into an interception machine, it's gonna go south really quick for Washington.
Yeah, but on the flip side, what about Peyton Thorne? Because has been times where he's kind of been shaking himself.
Yeah, one of the strengths for Washington has been their secondary over the years. I'll admit I don't know too much. Maybe Tony, Rick, Chris or Jordan, one of you guys can fill me in, but they've had a strong secondary over. It seems like they've always had a strong secondary up at Washington. I don't know who they have up there right now.
Mm-hmm. Just as Jordan. Another thing I was trying to figure out is with Arizona not being able to run the ball this week and stuff like that, how huge do you think it is going to be for them to try to get the running game going early against North Dakota State?
Come again?
No, what I was asking is like with Mississippi State literally not letting Arizona run the ball against them last week. I wonder how huge it is for them to for the Wildcats to get the running game going early against North Dakota State.
I think it's huge. I mean, you made a good point. Yeah, they were kind of overmatched against Mississippi State on Saturday, but just Mississippi State. I don't think a lot of people realize how good they are up front on the defensive line. So they were going to have issues, I think, regardless. But yeah, it's going to be important for Arizona State, and it's a tough matchup. I haven't looked at the line there, but anytime you're going up against the FCS national champion, and one of the best college football programs of any level for the last 10 years, you're going to be in for a dogfight. So, and it can get out of hand real quick. So, getting the run game early, getting a fast start on offense, not taking advantage of your opportunities early is going to be huge for Arizona in this game. Jaden Delora has to be smart with the ball. But I'm really interested to see how that game plays out, because there's not a lot of FBS teams that are willing to schedule the Bison for a reason.
Yeah. Yep. One last thing before I let you go, guys. You guys brought it up earlier about tailgating. Is there a chance maybe you guys can have a segment on Sunday night, talk about best tailgate places in the Pac-12?
Well, there's only one answer to that. I hate to admit. The one answer to that is get a boat, put it on Lake Washington, and go sailgating at UW.
Yeah.
As far as tailgating goes, that's the place that's just. I mean, they call it the most spectacular setting in college football for a reason. It's amazing.
Because Oregon's good and USC's decent, but I've never been up to Washington, but I heard it's pretty good and stuff like that. All right, guys. Well,
on the boat.
Yeah, I can only imagine. All right, guys. Thanks for taking my time. I look forward to see you guys Sunday night, man.
Thanks. We'll see you on Sunday.
Later, Michael.
Tony, if you haven't tailgated on a boat, you can also tailgate on a golf course.
I have tailgated on that golf course many times.
Yep.
And the boats are cooler. The boats are cooler. Well, guys, I think we're probably hitting about that time. Jordan, any final words here as we get ready to wrap up?
Well, if you guys have, if you've listened to me before, I'm a huge Utah Ute at heart. That they're my Pac-12 team. So, I'm a Clemson guy, but Utah's kind of my adopted team in the Pac-12. So all I got to say is go Utes, and it's been fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
I'll see you guys later.
See you soon.
Thanks so much, Jordan.
All right. TBM, you're up.
Thanks, everyone. I don't have anything special to add. Go Bruins and go Fresno State.
Oh, fighting words. Thanks again, guys. Chris, TBM is just a phenomenal resource who knows the conference better than anybody. And we need more solid Bruins around. Thanks, TBM. LBC.
Guys, it was a great show. It was good having Connor in, Mikey G, and Larry Pilgrim. It's always great to get a different viewpoint of the teams in the Pac-12. I think it's going to be a big weekend. A lot of national games, Washington, Michigan State, Oregon, BYU. So let's see if the Pac-12 has gotten any better, because this is going to be the measuring stick weekend. We'll hear a lot about it moving towards the rest of the season, and what happens in September will be part of the dialogue in November. Anybody who's familiar with college football knows that the national media will start, rehashing these records and who beat who and who lost to who and what conference is the weakest when college football playoff and year 6 bowl positioning starts happening. So good luck to the Pac-12 teams this weekend, and should be a great game against Fresno State in the Coliseum. Thank you, guys.
Always. And I want to give a special shout out to our favorite Joey Foster right there. Point out Cal might be the best Golden Blue team this year. Our sympathies to the WVU folks. You guys are going to come back and have a good season. I still believe. All right, Tim, you're up to bat.
Yeah, we started the conversation. Yeah. Well, I'm ready for a big weekend. We got some really key matchups, and I am excited to see USC play. Probably one of the better quarterbacks we're going to face all year in Hainer. But there's so many good matchups this weekend. I'm really hoping that the Pac-12 starts winning these close games, like we talked about. Winning that game at home against Michigan State will go a long way for giving the conference credibility. I hate the man, what he did to Marcus Allen, but in the more words of Al Davis, if you want to change things, just win, baby. You just have to win. And so if they can start racking up these wins, again, those 50-50 games where you have a national spotlight on you and you have proven coaches playing up against each other, we come out with those victories, they may be able to change the narrative. 4 years in the making, but each win will change it.
I hear you. Thanks again. And I just want to thank you guys, everybody out there, everybody in the chat, everybody watching at home. Thank you for taking a couple minutes, a couple hours, however long you've been with us and spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. It's a really, really amazing community at all 12 of the Pac-12 schools, and not just the Pac-12 schools as well, but even, the nearby Mountain West schools and all that. And there's not a lot of outlet to chat about that and have fan engagement. So we really appreciate you guys joining us. We hope you'll join us here, the Voice of College Football, every Wednesday, as well as follow up with the other Mark Rogers shows. Like, for example, the USC shows that he does and the Oregon shows that he does are really, really top notch. And they also love to have fan engagement. So on behalf of Tim and Rick and everybody else, Chris and everybody else involved with the show, thank you guys. Have a wonderful night. Go Pac-12. And most importantly, fight on Trojans. We'll see you all Sunday night for the USC postgame live. Take care, everybody. Be safe.